like a couple of tickets for the sponsor as part of the package.
Yeah.
So he's got some creative ideas. So, and maybe even when I'm on vacation next week, if you want to get on a conference call with him, just to brainstorm what we can do, so we both understand with him but he's very excited and he's amazing. Yeah, so the ball is rolling.
Yeah, and this far in advance, there's no reason that anyone on sales couldn't.
Manage
something. I mean, that'd be ridiculous.
I mean, if I have to, I'll do it. I used to do sales at another station. They kind of forced me into it. I'm not the best, but I've done it.
So. I want to go, but I don't want to pay a ton of money for a hotel.
I know. Yeah, I know. And there's airfare, and so all of that. Ideally, if we could get somebody to underwrite that, that'd be beautiful. But yeah, he said he'll get us. There's some VIP event with all the players. He'll get us in. He said apparently there's a gold jacket event that's for Hall of Famers only, and they get one like spouse. He said we can't get into that, but he said I can get you outside of that, and I can wrangle people to bring out whoever, Drew, Roger, whoever, that we could then interview and record interviews with them. Nice. But that one's like, no, if you're a civilian, you don't get into that one. But
you could be a spouse.
I hear music. That's a good sign. Woo! Looks like we're on the air. What a shock. Anthony Hector, what is up? Yeah, my ratty hair, Anthony. Friday, we got a lot going on as we embark upon the first sports weekend, the first weekend of March in the year 2021. Just pausing because it's polite to let Jim Morrison and the Doors, Jim Morrison, a.k.a. Mr. Mojo Rising, a.k.a. the Lizard King, like to let them finish. It's just, it's what I do. Welcome in on a Friday. Good to have you here. It is the Chris Duel Show, along with Shannon Salty Sweeney, who I can see on my video screen, who you could see on your video screen if you want to join us for the live video feed on AM 1300, The Zone's Facebook page and Ticket 760's Facebook page. Shannon wearing her burnt orange warm-up jacket in celebration of the Texas Longhorns' victory last night over Oklahoma. Take that, you Okies. Try to steal all of our players from Texas. Call yourself a university. Whoops, I just realized Jeremy Fouts went to Oklahoma Christian. Is Okie a slur? I mean, there's that song Okie from Muskogee. If I is that like calling somebody a Neanderthal?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
You have the pass, Chris.
All right. I do kind of mean to be offensive, but Shannon, yesterday you said more than once on this show, Shaka, not so smart. Would you like to publicly, and he may be listening this morning back in Austin, would you like to publicly apologize to Texas Longhorns head basketball coach Shaka Smart?
For what? He won a game he was supposed to win.
It was on the road, 15 versus 16.
Anytime you have the lower number on before your college, that's a sign that you should be winning the game against, and it's a rival game. So we split the series 1-1. There were some positives, but there are still plenty of things that need to be worked on for Texas. The inconsistent guard play has got to shape up. Big 12 tournament is 5 days away, followed by Selection Sunday.
Woo!
And you know what happens next. So all of those things need to come together. The turnovers have just been crazy for Texas. That goes along with that inconsistent guard play because they are just quite literally throwing the ball away at some points. But they shot well last night. They ultimately got that win. Thank goodness. because I'd much rather talk about a win than a loss. But no, I'm not apologizing. I still believe that he needs to really prove himself in the big tournament in a couple weeks, and I don't foresee that happening.
Man, you mentioned Selection Sunday. That is a week from Sunday. I mean, we are so close to knowing who's in the tournament, to the brackets, to doing our own brackets, to all of that comes with the NCAA tournament. And Shannon, you mentioned turnovers. I did not see the Longhorns Oklahoma Sooners game because I was doing Spurs radio along with the great Bill Schoening, the voice of the San Antonio Spurs and a friend of the show. Bill joins us every Wednesday in the 8 o'clock hour. But you mentioned turnovers. Spurs, a season high tying 19 turnovers last night against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Spurs led by 11 at halftime. Spurs led, I think, by 3 or 4 going into the fourth quarter and just let it get away. They lose 2 games to a lowly Oklahoma Thunder. I almost said Sooners. Oklahoma City Thunder team. They lose to them twice in 8 days. Oklahoma City is sub 500. They're not that good. These are 2 losses. When this 72-game NBA season is over, these are 2 losses that may come back to haunt the Spurs one way or another in the standings.
Yeah, because we know how crunched up those standings can get, especially within that kind of 5 to 10, even 12 range, especially in the West. How do you feel now going into the break?
It would have felt so much better. Now, granted, they're very shorthanded. There's still a lot of players out with COVID issues, including, and LaMarcus Aldridge was out with a separate issue. So if they get healthy, and I've heard assistant coach Becky Hammond allude to this, I think Will Hardy spoke with Bill Schoening in postgame yesterday. They played in all of these games, and they've been missing 5-6 regulars from the lineup. It's been a skeleton crew for the Spurs. They've been in every game. They've been right there at the end, either leading in the fourth quarter or knocking on the door. They have not been blown out, and you could have, felt, justified if they got blown out a couple of times being so shorthanded. So to answer your question, I don't feel bad. They let a couple get away this week that they shouldn't have let get away. I don't like that, but hopefully this All-Star break, which is about 6 days, they'll be back in action against your Dallas Mavericks on Wednesday night after the All-Star break. They'll be in Dallas. Hopefully this 6 days helps the Spurs get well soon and hopefully make a big push in the second half.
Yeah, especially because no Spurs are participating this weekend.
Yeah, technically, you're right. And a pox on you, NBA, for not getting DeMar DeRozan at least into the All-Star competition. Keldon Johnson is in some kind of a young players.
Oh, they are doing like a rookie thing.
Well, I don't know if they're doing. I know he was selected, and I don't know that they're actually doing it. Maybe they're just selecting those guys.
Okay.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Yeah.
Well, that's something to tip your cap for.
I'm not wearing a cap today.
Yeah.
Much to the dismay of anybody watching on video. You can see I have such ratty hair. I'm having a bad hair decade. And actually, it's a century. I'm having a bad hair century. I had great hair in the 20th century. 21st century, not so much. But yeah. So.
You know me, I rock my signature pony day.
I may have to get the ponytail. I've got the receding hairline, so I can be typical.
Oh no, you don't want to be that
middle-aged dude overcompensating for his receding hairline by growing the ratty ponytail as a dude while still having the receding hairline. That's so special. That's such a special look.
You'll need some Crocs to go with that.
I need Crocs, and I need to just yell at kids to get off my lawn. Woo! Exactly, and maybe some parachute pants from the 80s from the God, who sang Can't Touch This? God, who was that? MC Hammer, thank you. And there he was. You heard his voice for a moment. I am often rude and remiss, and maybe because he's an Okie, not quite from Muskogee. He is the pride of Oklahoma Christian University, turned down a scholarship to Oklahoma Satanic University because you got to sacrifice goats and carve pentagrams into the palm of your hand at that school. It's a little ridiculous. And you've got to sign away your soul over to Beelzebub to get your diploma. And Jeremy just said, I don't need that. I'll go to Oklahoma Christian University. Thank you. He is the proud owner of OBT Dog, the canine version of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Jeremy Fouts, what is up, man?
Hey guys, can you hear me okay?
I hear you,
Okay,
believe
good.
it or not.
We are being sent back to the Stone Age over here. So I'm working on some technical difficulties. So if you see me getting my noggin jogging over here, that's why. But I would like to wish you both a happy National Potty Dance Day.
Party or potty?
Potty.
No, we are on video. I think I may need a demonstration from you, Jeremy.
Well, I don't know if I can stand up.
He might do it. Look at this.
Oh, man.
He's going to do it on
I
video.
thought I'd be denied real
The
quick.
shaky thing.
Oh, the potty dance.
Yeah.
So it's like you
Like a
got to go
toddler kind of
potty,
Yes.
and you're trying to hold it in, so it's the potty dance.
Yes.
Wow.
It's the national day for that.
I might have.
Why couldn't this one be slumped in with the day where we had horse day and pig day and all those other randoms? There's nothing else going on today except this? Wow. And a
That's
Friday, too. What a day to
it.
celebrate.
Potty dance day? Now Jeremy did mention the Stone Age. I was kind of surfing on satellite radio on the way in this morning, listening to some of the news channels, and there's outrage among the Republican Party and among Texas Governor Greg Abbott because apparently President Joe Biden, upon learning that Texas and Mississippi, we're right with Mississippi on rescinding a mask mandate, and President Joe Biden says, hey, man, masks work. Social distancing works. We're very, very close to, getting everybody vaccinated. He said, now is not the time for a Neanderthal mentality. And now, a lot of Republicans in Texas and Mississippi are outraged that a president would be rude. Whoa! But and Shannon, I don't know if we've discussed this. I think Jeremy knows this. I did that 23andMe thing where you get your DNA test. I am 1.4% Neanderthal. So when the president says that, and I'm traumatized by those Geico caveman commercials. It's like, hey, man, those are my people. Don't be mocking my fellow Neanderthal brethren. Damn it. So I am Neanderthal. So I'm cool with it. And
Okay, you are cool with it.
I am 1.4% Neanderthal, and I wear a mask. So take that, Greg Abbott.
You're domesticated Neanderthal.
True, I am house trained.
There you go.
I can do the potty dance without actually,
Yeah, you know where to handle your business.
Yeah, thank you. It is Friday. And it's going to be a weird Friday, Shannon. You know this. Jeremy knows this. The listeners may not know this. My vacation begins at 8:52 this morning when we go off the air. So I'm like, what do they call it? It's like senioritis. What is it when you're not on vacation for another 3 hours, but in your mind you're already on vacation?
Are you packed?
I am like, which is weird for me. I'm about 70% packed.
Okay, so yeah, you're like in it.
Woo! So
But,
yeah,
I mean, it's, we're talking sports here. It's nothing,
exactly.
we're not breaking out calculators.
No, we're not engineering a Elon Musk space flight. That was, and I forgot what city it was. He's like renaming a Texas city something like Space City or so. I saw that earlier in the week.
I don't understand what that's all about
I don't either.
or why we need to rename things.
But I'm glad he's in Texas. I hear he's moved a lot of his business from California to Texas for tax purposes.
He was apparently in my neighborhood a couple weeks ago, just on a walk.
Did you say, hey, Elon, it's Salty Sweeney?
No, I didn't see him. This was for rumor. I don't know if he was enjoying a coffee shop or if he just wanted to walk around outside in the neighborhood that could care less that he was there. Because Austin's kind of known for like we're not going to bother you no matter who you are.
That's cool.
We'll leave you alone.
That's cool.
We'll say hi,
Yeah.
but we say hi to everybody.
But
As most Texans do.
if you see Elon Musk in your neighborhood, get him on the show. Say, yo, E.
I thought you were going to say ask him for some money
Well, add that.
and a Tesla.
That's the The show could be sponsored by Tesla. You and I could be driving Teslas,
Yeah.
courtesy of Elon
In
Musk.
fact, we were talking about our Hall of Fame trip. Maybe it should be sponsored by Tesla. And we drive
I
all
like
the
that.
way
Yes. Woo!
to,
Canton, Ohio, baby.
because they need advertising, right, Tesla?
Yes, they do. They absolutely do. Speaking of the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio, a little bit later in the 8 o'clock hour, in fact, at 8:06, our good friend James Allen from the Pro Football Hall of Fame, one of only 2 Texans on the board of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. One is named Jerry Jones. The other is named James Allen. James lives in San Antonio, good guy. And Shannon will he played football for Texas A&M, and Shannon still talks to him and recognizes his existence.
Wait, he actually played football for A&M?
He was like a badass.
Because we talked about this last time and how he was at Texas and then he went to Texas. We didn't say he played football. We didn't say he put on the maroon.
I want to say he was a linebacker. He was like a big time, right around 1987. I'll have to Google him, but he was like a big deal.
I can forgive. I don't forget.
Now, what he did say, though, so especially everybody listening in Austin or Longhorn fans in San Antonio or wherever you may be, he did say he originally, I think, was going to go to Austin, or he was accepted at UT.
I think he said he was here for a hot minute.
There you go. And he's good pals with Red McCombs, who gives a lot of cash and is a Longhorn alum. So
yes,
we're open.
There we go.
We're open to all
He's a half and half.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
So anyway, he's going to join us. And speaking of the of pro football, Dak Prescott, today is March 5th. We are 4 days away until the deadline for the Cowboys and other NFL teams to either sign players to a mega contract, if that's what you're going to do, or franchise tag them. March 9th is the deadline. That's 4 days away. So, Shannon, Dak Prescott is the focus of our poll question this morning.
Oh, I didn't know we had one yet.
I just threw that out there. I'm on vacation, so I don't even have the poll. No, I've got it here somewhere. Where's the poll question?
Well, and yesterday I loved your theory that he was going to maybe just sign on the 4th, which was yesterday, 3-4, and it would have been great. And now that that's come and gone,
is number 4.
My nerves are continuing to hike up there.
Damn it. The poll question is, how will the Dak Prescott situation play out with the Cowboys? You have 3 choices. A, they will sign a contract before March 9th. They're just going to get the deal done. Second choice, franchise tag, then deal, which means sometime before midsummer. They've got to franchise tag him if they don't have a deal by March 9th, but you could still sign the big contract by sometime around July 15th. And then your final choice is franchise tag, no deal. They're going to tag him another year, but not come to a contract accord with him. And all experts, Shannon, and football history would suggest if that's the case, this would be Dak Prescott's final season in a Cowboys uniform.
If this was already like the quarterback market we have right now with all of these guys that want to move around was next summer, then I'd be a little more okay with it. But right now, I just really want them to get Dak. I'm going to vote in the middle here. I don't think they're going to get it done by the 9th, so they'll go ahead and tag him. But I'm really, really hoping they get one done.
Yeah, I think that's the smart vote. I think we'd be shocked if they do the deal by March 9th. We're hopeful as Cowboys fans.
Yeah.
I think we'd also be shocked if they let Dak Prescott get away. So I agree with you. Franchise tag him March 9th. We're hearing some rumbling. Shane Slater of the NFL Network saying negotiations are going well, although Dak seemingly in the same breath, they're saying Dak is staying firm to his contract demand. So we shall see. All right, we got a lot to talk about. You can vote on our poll question on Twitter at Ticket760 at AM1300 The Zone. Jeremy Fouts is your soundscape stylist. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. A salty shakedown that could be involving extraterrestrials.
It's out of this world.
It's out of this world. And on this day in sports history, something kind of kinky That's sort of kinky. I think it would qualify as kinky, involving the wives of some New York Yankees. That's coming up in the 7 o'clock hour this day in sports history. Speaking of kinky, we got to get Kinky Friedman, Texas Longhorn graduate and brilliant novelist and performer, singer-songwriter. Got to get Kinky on. I used to have Kinky on the show all the time when I did news talk. Kinky knows sports. Kinky's a Cowboys fan.
There you go.
There you go.
Maybe he can convince Dak.
Yeah.
Lessen the demands.
I like that. All right. Quick break. Falco. Is that Falco? Putting on the Ritz? I don't know if that's Falco or not. Maybe it is. All right. Quick break. Lots coming at you between now and 9 o'clock. Don't go anywhere. Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy ride. You're listening to the Chris Duel Show. Steve DeRocco. When you deal with red, the deal gets done. Taro Kotani, the greatest international Spurs fan. Speaking of international, we got Taro Kotani from Tokyo this morning. We've got Ofa Lin from Singapore this morning. Alan Green, I am going to Santa Fe, New Mexico. So tonight, or today, I'm driving to Roswell, New Mexico to look for Baker Mayfield and aliens, and then get up tomorrow morning and drive into Santa Fe. So I'll be in Santa Fe, New Mexico in a taco. Falco is Rock Me Amadeus. Thank you, Laura Burris. I said Falco. It was taco, but it rhymes. See, I've never been to Santa Fe. I've been to Taos, but I've never been to Roswell. So a couple of little bucket list towns. Filling in next week is Shannon Salty Sweeney, and she'll be joined a few days by the great Carl Schoening and a few days by the great Andy Everett to answer your question. Foamfoot 420. Alan Green, Steve DeRocco, Taro Kotani, Jack Wilson, good morning. Clint Proctor, welcome. Hector Gomez, Anthony Del Toro, Luisa Alanis. If I didn't say hello, I didn't see your name yet. So welcome in. If you're here, even if I didn't say your name, I try to say your name. I try to be polite. It's only right. All right. I am going to heat my coffee. Thank God for microwaves. And then I'm going to get some water. So I'll be back. And I'll wear a mask. Greg Abbott. Texas. I like how he says Texas. Texas. Greg Abbott. Texas has mastered precautions from the coronavirus. Yeah. I don't think you've mastered anything, Greg Abbott. Except screwing up energy. I'm a little bitter this morning. Like my coffee. Woo. Sam Tobias, welcome in. Good morning, Beth Settle. You're up early. Wow, 6:34. You're up very early. Sam Tobias says, what's up to the nephew of NFL Hall of Famer Dan Fouts. All praise Thomas Wade Landry. How about them Cowboys? In fact, I should bust out the Tom Landry here. It's been too long. There he is. Tom Landry, everybody. The greatest coach ever on the face of this earth. Thomas Wade Landry from Mission, Texas. Born on September 11th, 1924. I know that's a little bit unfortunate. Can you imagine anybody who's got the birthday September 11th? That's just not good. I'm just saying. So some good things did happen on September 11th. Like in 1924, a football god was born. Thank you. I'm just saying. So, Shannon, I think we'll get into Creighton suspending Greg McDermott.
Did he coach in the Villanova game?
I think he did, but now and they don't reveal, okay, how long is he suspended? Like what, till the tournament?
And it says there'll be other punishments that won't be made public. Well, you said that the first time that no punishment will be made public.
See,
and then, like, what is in his mind where then he retweets this statement and he's like, I made a mistake?
Yeah.
Up to it. Mistakes.
Well, that is amazing that he, in apologizing, repeats the statement.
He's almost like being like, look how good of a person I am because I'm owning it and I'm accepting this. Like, just
it's like
serve your time. No one wants to hear from you.
Yeah, it's like if you said the N-word and highly offensive, so then you say, hey, I want to apologize for saying, and then you say it again, and it's like, shut up.
That was
if someone wants to find out what the hell you said, let them Google it or do some research.
Who was it that got in trouble for saying it because they were quoting something that had it?
I don't remember that.
Repeating something somebody said. I think it was a coach of some sort.
Oh yeah, now I'm vaguely remembering that. It's like, oh no, I was quoting it. That was
and that's like, people can get the gist without you actually saying it.
Yeah. See, I think, and we'll talk about it on the air, but I think the powers that be at Creighton realized, hey, if we still want African-American basketball players to come to our university, the fact that we didn't do a damn thing when Greg McDermott did this, now they can say, oh yeah, we suspended him.
Even white players to come.
Good point. Thank you.
No one wants to play for a guy who speaks in those manners and has those thoughts.
Jesse Bratton, good morning. Wes Perkins is in here.
Yes, Wes, I did see the Rudy-like moment. Little much calling it a Rudy moment. It was neat.
Is it worth discussing on the air, or is Wes being a little delusional about the Rudy-like moment?
That's weird. I saw 30 seconds of Spot airing.
Huh.
On the Zone.
Welcome back. It is the Chris Duel Show on a Friday with Shannon Salty Sweeney. I was corrected. Part of what I love about Facebook Live is that when I screw up, and I screw up quite a bit, I am often enlightened. So we were playing Putting on the Ritz going out, Jeremy Fouts, and I said that was Falco, and Laura Burris on Facebook Live tells me that was Taco, not Falco. Falco, I do believe, sang Rock Me Amadeus. And these are all 80s songs before both of your times. Get off my lawn. So I confused my Falco and my Taco. I wonder if Taco's still around. You would think Taco could really exploit that whole Taco Tuesday thing.
Is this a last name or a first name?
It was like
or
Madonna.
A made-up stage name.
I think it was a stage name, but it was like Taco just went by Taco and Falco just went by Falco. Like Madonna. It was like, yeah, this is who we are. So anyway, thank you. The 80s. You missed so much in the 80s, Jeremy and Shannon.
I feel like it's coming back, though.
God help us.
Right, with the Goldbergs and then all of the Gen Z apparently is trying to do away with side parts and skinny jeans, and you're supposed to do middle parts and almost parachute like pants.
Wow. Second time this hour.
We already mentioned MC Hammer, right? What is happening with the world and these young children's?
I know. You don't, if you want to do a decade, don't. The 80s were just so bankrupt. I mean, the 60s, to me, and I'm very biased because I grew up in the 60s, so I grew up on that music. But, I just think that was just such a cool decade. 70s, yeah, you had a little carryover from the 60s. Disco happened, which was scorned by a lot of people. But I think you look back, there's a cool documentary on the Bee Gees.
Yes.
Did you see it?
Yeah. So, the burning of disco music. What stadium was that?
That was in Chicago. That might have been Wrigley Field. It was either that or where the White Sox play, Comiskey. I think it was at Comiskey Park in Chicago.
That was absolutely nuts. I can't believe that was legal. Or
as they illustrated in the Bee Gees documentary, this whole backlash against disco was really motivated by kind of a racist, because disco, your best disco acts and people in clubs tended to either be African American, not always, a lot of white people got into disco, but African American performers and gay
right.
and lesbian, LGBTQ people were loving disco. So it was like tight ass white people who were just so angry at disco that they had to blow up albums and burn things and big banners. Disco sucks. Well, then don't listen.
Right. No one's making you listen. That was a radio promotion too, wasn't it? To come to the game and bring a that's horrible.
Some guy who was like the biggest DJ in Chicago had a big promotion. Everybody bring a disco album, and they took them all out to like center field after the game and blew them up. And then fans started rioting and taking the field, and so.
And now you think of the Bee Gees, and like that whole Saturday Night Fever album is one of the greatest, not just albums but soundtracks of all time.
And they had such a cool sound, and that weird that kind of falsetto thing. Was it? Which Gibb was it? Robin Gibb?
Yeah, it's Robin.
Yeah,
and he still does it.
Well, and he talks about how just one night in the studio they're recording, and he just accidentally busted into it, and the sound engineer goes, "Whoa! Do more of that." And it turned into a big thing, and it became like his signature sound, which was cool. So you never know what we're going to talk about on this show, Shannon. We went from God knows what. We went from Falco and Taco to the 80s.
Right. You really are in vacation mode. Like, I feel like we're talking about what playlist you're going to have for your drive.
It'll be very 60s, very 70s, and I think there are some Bee Gees involved. All right, we will actually talk about some sports on this sports talk show here and there today. We've been talking about it all week, and there was like a development each of the last 3 days, Shannon. Creighton basketball and their head coach, Greg McDermott. First, we heard about his locker room double analogy, where he essentially not once but twice told his players, hey, we got to stay together. We got to stay on the plantation, which was offensive to a number of people. Then we find out yesterday, he offered his resignation, supposedly, which 1.4 mil, Greg McDermott. I don't know that I'm buying it totally. And then we find out overnight now, Creighton says it has suspended Greg McDermott from all team activities for his racially insensitive comments, but we don't see the duration of the suspension. I mean, as you said, Shannon, Selection Sunday is a week from Sunday. My guess is this suspension goes till maybe around Selection Sunday, maybe around tournament time.
Right. I mean, this almost reminds me, not obviously with the same scenario of why they're getting suspended, but when OU, after the Kansas game where Baker Mayfield had some gestures on the sideline, they held him out of the first series or even the first quarter of OU's senior night game, and they stripped him of his captainship for that game. So he had made it all this way, and that, he talked about how that really hurt him. But, he was all fine and dandy for the playoffs and all of that. And so, we talked about, I think he may have coached in the Villanova game earlier this week, which was after all these initial reports came out. Creighton, of course, lost that game. Villanova's also, they were number 10 at that moment. So they're a pretty good team as well. But I don't understand this whole, they don't know what they're doing clearly at Creighton, because the first announcement was, we are aware of this. There will be internal punishments, but those will all be internal.
Yeah.
And now we're getting, okay, but he has been suspended and there will be more punishment, but it will all be internal. And then he turns around and takes the tweet from Villanova with the statement about his punishment. And I don't know if he's trying to hammer it home that, like, I'm a good person, whatever. He is saying, I made a mistake, and mistakes come with punishments, and I'm accepting mine.
And he keeps, when he talks about, he keeps repeating I said this to you off the air a few minutes ago. He keeps repeating the ridiculous racist analogy. And I said, would be like if someone, said the N-word and then, darn, I said, okay, yeah, that was awful. And then you come back, you go, hey, I want to apologize for saying, and then you say the word. Yeah. And let me just apologize one more time for saying blank. It's like, dude,
you got in trouble for talking.
Yeah.
Stop talking.
See, and here's what I think. And you, as you just walked us through it, Shannon, Creighton doesn't know what they're doing. I think they
Wins
finally
change everything.
I think they finally realized, they got a pretty good basketball team, and a big part of their basketball team is African-American basketball players. And if you want future African-American basketball players to come to Creighton, the narrative until overnight was, well, nothing was really done. This dude, Greg McDermott, the head coach, made this analogy that was offensive and racist, and nobody did anything really. I think now it's like, all right, now we can say, see, we suspended him. See, we denounced this, even though we're not telling you. It's undisclosed what the punishment really was. And oh, by the way, if we do find out, Shannon, that this little suspension was from now until tournament time, a week and a half, that's crap.
Want to make a statement, going to be even more mad.
Yeah, you want to make a statement and you don't want to blow him out, then you say, guess what, Greg McDermott? You're sitting out the tournament. You're suspended for the tournament. We'll talk about this in the off season. And next up, your lead assistant will be the head coach of Creighton in the tournament. Then I'm a little impressed by your punishment.
Yeah. And there was also some talk, when he said, I said I would resign. He also said, well, I talked to the players and they didn't ask me to resign. They're probably not wanting to say anything to your face, good or bad. Because for the time being, you're still their coach. So they call you out. What are you then going to do?
Yeah.
Run them? They don't want to run more. They don't, and what they understand the position they're in with their rank, and that they could, do something special in the tournament. They don't want to risk that for themselves. So they're probably feeling like, I guess we just need to drag him along until this is all over. But of course they're not going at this late in this. It's not an off-season thing where something can come out of this and a new coach, whatever. There's time to regroup. No, we are a week away from Selection Sunday. They are the number 14 team in the country. No player is going to say, hey, man, I know you're still my head coach, but you're a jerk. And this, that, and the other, maybe a couple other words thrown in there, because how could you say that to us? I don't care if it's the heat of the moment. That should not be a word in your vocabulary and within that mindset of how you used it. Of course, they're not going to say, hey, man, we'd really like you to leave.
Yeah.
We don't feel safe.
Especially in college basketball, the coaches have all the power.
Right.
There's a whole
This isn't
power
the NBA.
dynamic. Yeah. And other than maybe your superstar players, let's assume like 12 players on that roster. Other than maybe 2 or 3 max, the rest of those players really, if they got blown out, they may or may not get on another college roster anytime soon, or certainly not at the level that they would like to. So you're saying, hey, would you like me to resign? If 6 of those guys raised their hand and said yes, what would that do for their future in college basketball? That's a little ridiculous, if you ask me, that he would say that.
If you really thought you did wrong and you had the thought of maybe I should resign, then you probably should have just resigned and not said, I will if you want me to.
Yeah.
Because that's always like, growing up as a kid, like that's what you say when you don't want to do something. Like, if you want me to, I will, but I really don't want to. That's him. That's where we're at. Well, that's where we're at with Creighton right now.
Yeah. Well, and the good news for me now, I have somebody to root against in the NCAA tournament. I mean, especially if he's on the sideline, and I'll bet you he will be.
Which is sad for those kids.
Yeah, you're right, but I'm not.
You
proud.
don't want to see someone succeed.
Yeah, I want to see number 14 Creighton lose in the opening round. Yeah, I'm guessing at number 14 you'll be what, a 2 seed, maybe at best, maybe a 3 seed.
Yeah.
So that's fine with me. Yeah. A 3 versus 12. I want to see Creighton. Now they probably won't, but now I've got a negative rooting interest. I will tune into that game with some extra interest.
Well, a positive rooting interest, maybe if Texas doesn't go as far as they should, would be Texas Tech and Chris Beard. A great story from last night, senior night. Chris Beard put in on senior night a team equipment manager. He used to play JUCO ball. He wants to get into coaching. He got put into the game to tons of applause from the fans that were allowed into that arena last night. And usually when you put a guy like that in, like, you're trying to set him up to score, right? Whether it be a 3, whatever, wide open shot. And typically the other team also kind of allows it. It was a blowout win last night for Tech. But no, he took a charge. And uproar, pandemonium for Texas Tech with him
cool.
getting. Because getting a charge it's not the easiest thing, right?
No.
I tried. I usually get called for the block.
Yeah.
So for him to go in there and say, look, that's fundamentals right there. If you ask me, that's a kid who grew up on fundamentals, being able to take a charge. So that was awesome to see. Great story out of Tech last night. And a team you could definitely root for in the tournament. And we've seen them go far before.
Yeah,
why not do it again?
And I do.
They're peaking at the right moment too.
Even though my favorite team in Texas is the Texas Longhorns, I'm one of these guys. I want any team from Texas in that tournament. I want to go as deep as possible. Now, if Texas Tech winds up facing the Longhorns in the tournament, I'll be pulling for the Longhorns in that one. But yeah.
They're a fun team. Matt McClung is exciting to watch, especially when he gets going.
Yeah, and we had somebody shooting a Matt McClung gif at us the other day when Tech beat Texas. Clint Proctor, Wes Perkins, our 2 resident Texas Tech alums on Facebook Live. Now, this is Falco. Rock Me Amadeus. Not to be confused with Taco, who sings Putting on the Ritz. My God.
Got me.
I know. You don't. Yeah.
I've heard the song.
It's not bad.
Super 8 with these synths.
Chris Duel Show. More coming up. Thanks. Woo! Do we have talk back yet? No, he doesn't hear me. Okay. I can usually talk to Jeremy, but he can't hear me today from the studio. So
It
he's
blows my mind that all of the live shows are in the morning and there's never engineers anywhere to be found.
Yeah, that is amazing. Yeah, you would think. That would be nice. Thank you, Wes Perkins. Wow, Shannon, you made Clint Proctor and Wes Perkins very happy by doing that story.
I mean, it is it's touching, it's sweet.
Yeah. Michelle Johnson, welcome in. Eddie Mike Fisher. Tracy Bogert. Erasmo Hernandez. Easy for me to say. Oh. Thank you, Hector. Sam Tobias says, when you ask the team if they want you gone, he's talking about Greg McDermott of Creighton, you're obviously not taking into consideration their future in basketball and their reputation. Yeah, and as we just talked about, I think there's a huge power dynamic there. If any of the other than your superstars, and even your superstars don't want to do it because they've got probably a good relationship with you, but everybody else on that roster, you put your future at risk if you say, yeah, I want you gone. Luisa Alanis says, happy retirement to Randy Beamer. Best of luck, Randy. Yeah, Randy Beamer, man. He's on the short list of San Antonio TV news anchors. Probably right there with Chris Maru, if not given his longevity, maybe he moved ahead of Chris Maru. If you're going to probably name the all-time most influential, I think Ken's 5 had higher ratings over the years than News 4. I may be wrong. So I think if you're going to break the tie, you might give it to Chris Maru. But what I like about Randy Beamer is he very credible as a news anchor and yet was very funny, didn't take himself seriously. So he's very cool. I like both of them. But yeah, that's the end of an era in San Antonio. I don't even know who anchors that news now that he leaves. Do they hand it off to Delane Matthew? I don't even know. I don't know who becomes their lead anchor. That's interesting. Oh, I got to get you, and I'll try to do it during these breaks, Shannon. I got to get you phone numbers of everybody for next week. I think you've got most of them, but just in case.
Yes, thank you.
So I'll start compiling that list. In fact, somewhere I've got a bunch of them. Okay, there's Bill. Jeff Garcia. Oh, I got James Allen on here. Let me write that one down. Where's James Allen? There he is. 210. Yeah, I wish I had a Rolodex, Sam. That would be easier. I do have a phone list though, so I got one. All right, here we go. 7 o'clock hour. Why the heck not? Wow, Anthony, that's amazing. Yeah, Chris Maru had a brother who ran for president as a libertarian. God, what was his name? I used to know that. It is Friday. The weekend has begun. March 5th, 2021. Welcome into the Chris Duel Show, 7 o'clock hour with Shannon Salty Sweeney. In fact, a little bit later in this hour, the Salty Shakedown, which is out of this world. Also, this day in sports history, involving an interesting story about the wives of some New York Yankees. We'll get into that. Sports birthdays and more. Jeremy Fouts is your soundscape stylist. I am Chris. Among other things, Shannon, a Tom Brady rookie card at auction. And I don't know if you bid on this because I know you're a big Brady fan. A Tom Brady rookie card at auction went for a record $1.32 million for a football card. Crazy.
Yeah, that's a lot. I didn't bid on it, not because I'm not a TB fan, but because it was just a hair out of my price range.
Not part.
Just a little bit. Now, when you become a player in any of these sports, are you given a box of your own cards?
It's a great question.
Because if you are, why am I giving them to my friends and family? Why am I not betting on myself, keeping them, signing and dating them, and putting them in those special plastic baggies to then give to my friends and family years later when I say, hey, this is worth something.
That would be if you're an athlete and you really believe in yourself. And I imagine once you get to that level, I mean, even if you don't become a superstar, you probably have it in your head that you will. Yeah. Why would you not, even if a box isn't given to you, if you found out there are Shannon Sweeney rookie cards out there, go out and buy a bunch of them and put them in plastic and put them in a safe deposit box, and they could be worth a ton of money. And imagine, I mean, not that Tom Brady needs the extra $1.3 million, but if he had 10 of those and socked them away back in 2000 or whatever.
Yeah. But you give them to charity, you give them to auctions for charity rather than just these crazy collectors who keep them under lock and key in probably a temperature controlled room or box, like a museum that no one ever gets to see.
Yeah. Kind of like the Tony Parker Museum in his house that we saw on the Tony Parker Netflix documentary, which was very cool.
And just how rare are these cards? Like, how many get printed?
It's a great question.
Is there a certain number that get printed, and then along the way, people lose them? They get dirty. They get rips.
Yeah, and if a Tom Brady rookie card goes for $1.32 million,
is this one even signed?
Yeah, what if there were like 10,000 of them printed up? Are you telling me there's 10,000 cards out there worth somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 million? That's crazy.
Yeah, I just have a lot of questions.
Yeah,
especially when you think about it. At the end of the day, it's a little picture with some
cardboard
with some Wikipedia stats on the back.
Yeah. I mean, and again, when I was a kid, I got football cards. I got baseball cards. I get it, but I don't get it as an adult. I mean, even if you're rich, $1.32 million is a lot of money for a Tom Brady.
I'm not knocking
card.
the fun people have with collecting them and looking at them and trading them, whatever. It's just when you start going into that price range to purchase something that you don't even use. I mean, at least Pokemon cards, like you played Pokemon with those. I don't know that there's like a board game for baseball where you have baseball cards just laid out, with your field of 9, and how do you know who's hitting? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Someone teach me. And also then there's the variation of different brands of cards, all that. And because I know at Target, that's where I see most cards. I've never been to like a collection shop, but where you actually buy the sets, right? Where you go home and open it up and you see what you got. But it's like by the front checkout, it's always a section. And I guess maybe that's for the little boys and kids who are into it that just want to grab them on the way to the checkout, almost like the candy.
Yeah.
A lot of questions to be answered here about cards and that price tag.
And there's another collectible in the news this morning, a pair of Michael Jordan game-worn AJ1s. I guess I'm not a big shoe guy,
Okay.
so when I hear about the AJ1s, you could say an F-16 to me, which is a fighter jet, and it would the AJ1. Anyway, they're going to auction a pair of Michael Jordan game-worn AJ1s that he used to help high school recruiting. These are, I'm looking at a photo of them. It's at tmzsports.com. They're the red and white Nike high top, Nike Airs. And apparently there was a kid in high school that was considering going to North Carolina. So apparently the story goes that Dean Smith, which is interesting because earlier in the week we talked to Matt Doherty, who played with Michael Jordan under Dean Smith at North Carolina. So Dean Smith coming up again in this story. But apparently Dean Smith was recruiting a kid to come to North Carolina. So Dean Smith flew this kid's grandmother to a Chicago Bulls game, I think around 1985. Around 1985. So she saw the Bulls play, and then after the game, the grandmother of this high school basketball player meets Michael Jordan in the Bulls locker room, and Michael gives the pitch on why her grandson should go to North Carolina. Then he takes off his high tops, his basketball shoes that he just played in the game. He autographed them and gave them to her. So that's where these shoes are now. They've been around for 35 years, and now they're up for auction. See, I've always found that a little weird. Game-worn basketball shoes.
Right.
You play basketball, don't they smell a little bit? Or, do you want shoes that a dude or a woman, if you're into the WNBA, was playing basketball in? Is that a little, at what point do we jock strap? At what point do we draw the line to go, okay, shoes cool, maybe game-worn shorts, maybe you want some John Stockton Utah Jazz shorts, but at what point would you go, okay, that's too much? I believe the jock strap of Michael Jordan is, I'm sure there's somebody that would pay for it if you could authenticate it. Ooh, Michael wore this in the 1993 NBA Finals.
Some creep would buy it.
A little weird.
Yeah, a
little weird.
I get it because they're Jordans and the whole Jordan brand and the shoes and the sneaker releases and the drops and the color waves are such a thing. And the fact that he did wear them. Also, can we talk about that for recruiting? They paid for this grandmother to then go to, that is so, probably still happens in some forms, just a lot more under the radar than, hey, I'm in the locker room and Jordan gave me his shoes after the game. But that in itself is crazy. And these are like the kind of the original most known color wave of this shoe, just because he did wear them a lot while he played. So I understand the price tag. To your point of getting someone's shoes that are worn, that I get it in some aspect. Like if JT were to give me his, he actually did this. He was sponsored by Jordan for a tour. And after each city, he signed the shoes and then went and hid them in a popular part of the city so people could go find them.
Okay, that's kind of cool. Kind of a scavenger hunt.
So
kind
I
of
get
a thing.
that because were worn by somebody that you can then point to the picture and say, those are what I have. But the kind of like the cards thing, you're not using them. Are you sitting there looking at them every day?
Yeah.
Probably not. I may prefer, hey, that's really cool. Let me get you to autograph this picture of you that I can have in frame. And then I'd just like to have a pair of shoes that I can wear in my size.
Yeah, see, I can see a jersey.
That makes me feel cool.
Yeah, I get a jersey.
People aren't going to believe me when I'm out and about, and I'm like, no, really, I have Jordan shoes in my house.
A jersey, I really understand because I mean that's how you really identify a player on the court or on the field. When you go to the shoes, it's beginning to get a little odd for me. And I know there's this whole shoe culture. We've talked about it. I mean, we had Sam Freese on earlier in the week, and he's got a bunch of pairs of collectible Jordans at home that he's not crazy hardcore, but he's got some.
Right.
So,
how much did you say these were going for?
These I don't. I'm
they're
looking
on
at
auction,
TMZ
right?
Sports.
So
they're going up for
yet.
auction. I do not yet see. I'm skimming through the story. They do not list. Mears, which is an auction house, is putting them up. The auction ends Saturday. They strangely, because usually with a story like this, they give what the expected price is going to be, and I don't yet see that in this story. Mears Auctions is doing this.
Well, so these are game-worn shoes, but remember the game when his foot was like bleeding?
Yeah.
Through his socks?
And somebody would love that.
More or less for those shoes versus these regular game-worn Jordans.
Oh, I'm sure someone would, to have Michael's blood on the inside of the shoe, I'm sure somebody
his
would
DNA?
just pay top dollar for that. Oh, yeah. And if
we
you got his DNA.
We could create embryos.
Exactly. Someday, if not right now, the
Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
2.0.
Okay, now I clicked on the site. And I still don't see.
I'm seeing it on eBay, the Michael Jordan rookie used shoes for $1 million.
Wow.
But again, I don't know. I don't see any authentication with that. So, and these better be for charity or something, right?
Okay, I clicked on the story. The minimum bid was $23 on these Michael Jordan game-worn shoes. The current bid on the shoes we're talking about that were given to a grandmother, and there's 15 hours, 12 minutes, and 13 seconds left in this auction.
You still have time.
Current bid, $402,465. Somebody bid over $402,000 for a pair of Michael Jordan's shoes.
And I feel like there's fine print in there. Are we getting both shoes or are we getting one shoe?
There have been 55 bids thus far.
That many?
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be
bid.
surprised if the first 54 were like low price range. People who are just like, maybe I'll get lucky.
Yeah, the bidding started at $23. So it
of
went
course
from
it did.
23. Yeah, boom. See, I didn't even see the significance of the 23. Now I do. So yeah, somebody got in at 23, but it quickly went up to 402,465. Wow. And even if you got that kind of money, all right. Yeah. I don't understand everything, apparently.
No. And we're not meant to.
No.
Which is why we get to have these discussions, which is great.
All right. Speaking of NBA basketball, the big draft took place. Michael Jordan and Kevin Durant, even though he's not even going to play, did their big draft yesterday. So we now know. I still got to believe, and I think what's interesting about the draft, the last chosen players on Team Kevin Durant and Team LeBron James, they were both Utah Jazz players. One was Rudy Gobert on one team and one was Donovan Mitchell. That still has to suck. Even though you're an NBA All-Star.
Absolutely.
I mean, when I was a kid, that was the worst. When you were choosing up teams, you didn't want to be the last player chosen. It means you suck, and now everybody knows it, and nobody wanted you until there was nobody left. If you're Donovan Mitchell or Rudy Gobert and you were last picked on each of these respective NBA All-Star teams, you're multimillionaires, you're stars, you're all-stars, but that still can't be good.
Well, if you're Rudy, you're just, you're still living down the Mike incident.
Yes.
Just a year ago. So that I buy. But I agree. And the fact that they do it on television but I do like that they have it's mixed. It's not so East and West anymore, because I don't know that really drew people in. And then for a while, it felt like the West was just always going to win.
Yes.
The East had LeBron and that was about it. And LeBron and his friends. So I like that they mix it up and we have guys like Kevin Durant. I mean, could you imagine if Kevin Durant wasn't captain and he was picked not first?
Right. Yeah. Well,
and his other Twitter accounts would be firing on all cylinders.
Well, and interestingly, Kevin Durant did select James Harden, his teammate, and Kyrie Irving. So I guess if you don't do that, you might have to deal with those guys.
There could be something said for when you get a player you normally play with on the floor with you during a NBA, because the games always go the same, right? The first 3 quarters are toss-ups and dunks,
and nobody's playing defense. Choose your own adventure. We're out here to have fun. And then the last quarter, it's, oh yeah, we do get paid for this, and we get paid more if we win. Let me maybe play some defense now, or take smarter shots selections. So there's that to consider. Yep,
which again goes into the fact that they are picking their team based on ideally who they think would be the best fit to get them a victory. But they are all stars, which is what we have to remember. There are a lot of players that were not selected here.
And most notably for me as a Spurs fan, Demar Derozan, who I think has had a very, very good year. Maybe certainly his best year in San Antonio, and arguably, I think he was a 4-time All-Star coming from the Toronto Raptors. I think you could probably put up DeMar DeRozan's year this year against other years, but 2 years in a row now, Shannon, Spurs shut out. Nobody likes us. Nobody likes the Spurs.
Wouldn't you rather them have the rest, though, with the way things are going right now?
Actually, yes.
And we've talked about, we talked yesterday, the Super Bowl was not a super spreader event. Hoping NBA All-Star Weekend, there won't be anything to come out of that, but on the chance that there is something that happens, potentially all of these players could be knocked out for a week.
Yeah,
following this game.
Yeah, and you talked about it yesterday, and it's true. The Super Bowl, the numbers are in, and it was not, as you say, a super spreader event for all of us in sports. For all of us hoping that more and more fans are being allowed back into stadiums and arenas. That's good news. So, and I still wonder. I kind of miss her, courtside Karen, who is from Atlanta. The big thing, and it's Team LeBron James. I wonder, is courtside Karen and her boyfriend / husband, who's like 30 years older than she is, I wonder if they're going to be courtside, and I wonder if the NBA, even if they wanted to be courtside with LeBron being there with Team LeBron, I wonder if the NBA said, yeah, courtside Karen, why don't you and your hubby sit this one out? I mean, I wonder. If
the NBA is smart, I think they put her on right by the table
and mic her
sports table. Mic her up
for the TNT broadcast.
Absolutely.
That's funny. They should probably think about doing
that. And do the skills competition and 3-point and dunk competition, do those make you tingle inside?
When there's somebody I have a rooting interest for, like there was once a team that was David Robinson, Tim Duncan, and Becky Hammond. It was like they played like a 3-on-3 thing a number of years ago. And I thought that was cool. It was like, man, 2 great Spurs. And at the time, Becky Hammond was with the San Antonio Silver Stars, later the San Antonio Stars of the WNBA. I just thought that was a cool lineup. And I think if you're going to match men and women, Becky Hammond was and is so memorable as a player and now a coach. So, if I know who's in, then I'm in.
I like the dunk contest a lot, but the fact that they're putting it in the middle of the All-Star game means I'm going to have to actually watch the All-Star game.
Yeah.
Which the game itself doesn't hype me up. I'm more into who's selected, who's not, and then we're done.
Well, and speaking of the dunk contest, and we mentioned Michael Jordan and his shoes. I mean, back in the day, your Michael Jordans of the world would be in the dunk contest.
Right.
In the ABA, Dr. J, Julius Irving, George Gervin, David Thompson. I mean, your best players did it back in the day. I wish it was still that way. I'd really be excited.
The LeBron conversation will happen every year.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll ever do it.
Yeah, and now at 36, each year it gets less likely. And they should have. Do they have an old timers game? They should have an old. I would tune into that. Give me some Tim Duncan and David Robinson and some Dirk Nowitzki for you. I would tune into an old, and you can play old timers basketball, especially the way they play an all-star
Isn't
game.
then they're like a big 3 summer league or something that is basically that now?
Yes,
by
the
like
Big Three
Ice
league.
T or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But give me an old timers game for NBA All-Star Weekend. I would like that. And get off my lawn because I am an old timer. Quick break coming up. An out of this world salty shakedown. This day in sports history, sports birthdays, and more. Jeremy Fauci's your soundscape stylist. Lots more coming. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Woo! Woo! All right, I'm getting coffee. Taro Kotani, Carl Fisher, welcome in. Chris Gonzalez. Garbage Pail Kids were after my time. I'm so old. I was an adult by the time Garbage Pail Kids came out. Foam Foot 420. Okay. Here's my big Strata tanker of coffee. They have coffee here in the building, but there's a security guard here who washes out the coffee maker. And Tanner Carlson once told me, and it's true, the coffee tasted like soap. And ever since then, it's like, ugh, I'm bringing my own damn coffee. So I just do my coffee in the morning, put it in there, and then we're golden. Heat it up in the microwave. I'll be right back. All right. John McGee, good morning. The eclectic Jeremy Fouts. Very nice. All right. Little sports history involving an interesting story about the wives of a couple of New York Yankees. Sports birthdays, salty shakedown, gulps of coffee, caffeine infusion. Sam Tobias says, all praise Gregory Charles Popovich. Hashtag in Pop we trust. Amen. Pop is on my coaching Mount Rushmore. Tom Landry. Pop. I think I know who this is. Yes. Olivia. Chris Duel show. I'm Chris Duel. I had a crush on Olivia Newton-John in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s, in the 2000s, in the 2010s. Shannon Salty Sweeney, it's 2021. I still have a crush on Olivia Newton-John, and my wife is okay with it. My wife and I have seen Olivia Newton-John in Vegas. We've seen her at the Majestic Theater in San Antonio. She has a crush on Johnny Depp, and I'm okay with that. And I have a crush on Olivia Newton-John, and we allow that.
You know, this song is one of the first songs they taught us on recorder in 4th or 5th grade.
You're on recorder, graders.
Which now that I'm listening to this song as somewhat of an adult, seems inappropriate.
Kiddies. Hey, 4th grade kiddies, Let's get physical.
Yeah, because it was just the like let's get physical part.
Yeah.
Because I think there's very minimal motions as far as the holes you have to cover.
Wow. So they didn't tell
But
you
they
as fourth
jumped
graders.
straight from Mary Had a Little Lamb and Hot Cross Buns to Olivia Newton-John. Let's get physical.
Yeah, and there's a lyric that's let's get animal. I guess they didn't teach that to the kiddies.
Yeah.
There's nothing left to talk about unless it's horizontally. Okay.
In this PC world, I can't imagine they're still getting away with that.
Thank you, Jeremy Fouts, for the burst of Olivia Newton-John, or as she was known in the 80s, Olivia Neutron Bomb. She was
really
the bomb. Woo! Yeah.
Not just Grease Girl.
And not just Grease Girl. And she's still like, gosh, we last saw her maybe 3-4 years ago. Still has the voice. She can still belt it out. She's got it going on.
I think she's fared better than John
Travolta,
yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Although Travolta is he still have a career? Has he done anything recently?
Not good.
Not good. Good point. Yeah, last thing I remember was Face Off with Nicolas Cage.
He did okay in the I think he was in the O.J. Simpson.
That's right.
The recreation version that was airing at the same time as the ESPN documentary.
Yes.
I think he played one of the lawyers or something.
Yeah.
But that's the only noteworthy thing that he's been in.
Yeah, I saw him like the other day. I forget what. Anyway, he shaved his head. So it's what
I did see that.
A, it's your John Travolta, and B, you. And again, some Michael Jordan looks good with a shaved head. John Travolta, not so much. I'm just saying.
Maybe it's for a role.
Yeah, it could be. All right. In a moment, an out of this world salty shakedown. But first, sports birthdays and this day in sports history. On this day in 1963, Shannon, a patent for kind of a sports article equipment, the patent for the hula hoop was filed. Were you ever big into the hula hoop?
Yeah, hula hoop, jumping rope. I was overly competitive as a kid, so anytime those came out in the gym, I was like, I'm gonna be up here the longest.
I sucked at hula hoop. I don't think I've ever had it like rotate 3 times around my waist. I just wasn't built for it. I suck at hula hoop to this day.
Are you square?
I guess, yeah, maybe that's it. But it's hip to be square, according to Huey Lewis in the news. On this day in 1985, New York Islander Mike Bossy is the first to score 50 goals in 8 straight seasons. That's not bad. But here's, to me, the biggest sports story on this day, Shannon, and it is weird. On this day in 1973, New York Yankee pitchers Mike Kekich and Fritz Peterson had press conferences at spring training to announce they had swapped wives. I'm not kidding. They had known each other since 1969, the two couples. And according to Peterson, the other guy had started to campaign for my wife in about August. He talked to me seriously about it. He told his own wife, Susan, that he loved Marilyn more. So Fritz Peterson swaps wives with Mike Kekich. He gets Susan Kekich, and Mike Kekich got Marilyn Peterson. And for Fritz Peterson, it worked out. He's still with the former Susan Kekich to this day. Mike Kekich and Marilyn Peterson, it didn't really work out for those two.
That sounds very much like Shania Twain.
Her
situation.
Did she do that?
I think her husband cheated on her with her best friend.
Ugh, I hate it when that
happens. And so in coping, she got to know her best friend's husband.
To get back at
I think just as a coping mechanism,
okay.
To talk it out. And I think they connected over that. But there was some hardship in that. Sam just said old school wife swap. Yeah, that's what I thought you were going with, of that they were going to be featured in that ABC show Wife Swap.
There you go.
Where they swap women for a week and they see what each other's life is like so that they're more appreciated when they go back home. And then you said, what'd you say, 1969?
They knew each other since 1969. The wife swap happened in 73.
Yeah, don't think that show was around then.
But how weird is that? Two couples are friends, and then You say, well, you know what? I think I like her better. So yeah, why don't we do this? That's a little weird for me. All right. So that's this day in sports history. Yankee pitchers, and they're both pitchers, same position. Wife swapping. Crazy. All right. Let's cleanse the palate with sports birthdays. Born on this day in 1907, Carol Rosenblum, who would be an NFL owner of the Baltimore Colts and the LA Rams. In fact, when he died, he drowned in 1979. His wife, Georgia Frontieri, became the owner of the LA Rams. She's the one who moved him to St. Louis and later sold the team. Born on this day in 1935, Billy Tubbs, American college basketball coach at Southwestern University, Lamar, and Oklahoma and Texas Christian University. He was born in St. Louis, Missouri, died last year in 2020. Born on this day in 1938, football player Fred the Hammer Williamson, who played for the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl I. He was later in the Monday Night Football booth for 1 year. It didn't work out that well. Fred the Hammer Williamson, born in Gary, Indiana on this day in 1938. Born on this day in 1946, great name for a running back, Rocky Bleier of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Rocky Bleier played with Terry Bradshaw, Lynn Swann on all those Steelers championship teams, beat the Cowboys twice. And notably, Rocky Bleier served in Vietnam. He was a Vietnam veteran. Finally, and your marquee birthday of the day, Shannon, the playmaker, Michael Irvin, number 88. Happy birthday, Michael Irvin. That's sports birthdays.
Now, you said the Hammer was only at ESPN for a year. Better or worse than Jason Witten?
Better. Jason Witten was god-awful.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah.
I need some context.
Fred
All right.
the Hammer
Wow.
Williamson.
Jason Witten really is that bad.
I kind of liked Fred the Hammer Williamson in the Monday Night Football booth, but
I mean, when you have a nickname like the Hammer, I feel like there's got to be good personality that comes with that.
Worst ever in the Monday Night Football booth, they tried comedian Dennis Miller for a year, and it just did not work. Dennis Miller was trying to be all cute and funny and acerbic with his plays on words during it was god-awful.
Yeah. What about Frank Caliendo? Have they ever put him in there?
No, but that's a great idea. I would tune in for that.
I would do that.
I would like that a lot.
He helped to get JJ to Arizona. Why couldn't he help people tune into Monday Night Football?
Boom. Somebody call ESPN.
In
That's
fact,
a great
bring
idea.
him in as John Gruden on Monday Night Football.
I like it.
And we're set.
All right. Speaking of set, get ready, get set, because here it is, an out of this world edition of the Salty Shakedown.
An out of this world edition that starts here in the Austin area. Baker Mayfield and his wife Emily are home during the off season. Of course, Baker, a Lake Travis High School graduate, and he tweeted Wednesday night, very late in the evening. He said, almost 100%. Em and I just saw a UFO drop straight out of the sky on our way home from dinner. We stopped and looked at each other and asked if either of us saw it. Very bright ball of light going straight down out of the sky towards Lake Travis. Anybody else witnessed this? I live in the area, but I was very much asleep at this time. I have not heard any other reports of this sighting, although this has blown up since yesterday and even leading into this morning. In fact, Colin Cowherd, who you hear here on Ticket 716 AM 1300, responded. He obviously a bit of a Baker hater himself, constantly going at him. And so he just played into this so easily. And he said, I just don't like my franchise quarterback having alien encounters in the off season. You know where you don't have UFO sightings? The film room. Why do you think you don't hear Tom Brady going X-Files? He's watching tape. I mean, come on, Baker. Okay, Baker was coming home from dinner. What, you don't want him to eat?
Exactly.
Also, he's in Austin. We've got some fantastic restaurants. I actually took to their Instagrams, and they were at a cool restaurant I'd never even heard of before, where their drinks are like on fire almost, smoking. So I'd like to go there. So you can't knock him for not being in the film room for dinner time. Also, it is the off season. Let him enjoy it a little bit. And then Tom Brady, because I guess he's working really hard to get me to like him, quoted Mr. Colin Cowherd and said, "How do you know I've never had an alien encounter?"
Ooh.
So he's having fun with it and backing Baker up. This is one of the more ridiculous stories I think to come out of the offseason so far because, one, I just don't believe in the UFO things. We've got drones everywhere these days. Lake Travis is a pretty dark area when it's that lake, depending on where you're driving. So something that is shining is probably going to shine brighter than you would normally think it would in the city. And then Colin's just, a jerk to be a jerk sometimes. And this is another example of it. What say you, Mr. Chris Duel?
Well,
You
first
seen
of all,
a UFO?
when I was a
you've seen
child, I saw a UFO. It looked like this shiny, like tumbling Ferris wheel with lights in the sky. It was really, really weird. But speaking of alien encounters, tonight I will spend the night in Roswell, New Mexico. So if I see any aliens, I will personally ask them if they were there for the big event with Baker Mayfield. So I do believe. I think there's all kinds. I think UFOs are interdimensional beings. They're not necessarily from way far away. I think they're here and they kind of go in and out of other dimensions and they show up sometimes.
Yeah, I'm big into Pixar. It didn't happen. If
Yeah.
you're both in the car, you both see it. Where's the footage? That's all I'm saying.
Well,
You can
sometimes
tweet
you-
about it. You
you
pulled
can't
out
get
your
that
phone fast
phone
enough
out
to
quick
tweet
enough.
about it.
Yeah.
So that's all I've got to say, and also no other reports stemming from this because he did ask, did anybody else witness it? We're not seeing any other witnesses, so maybe those drinks that were on fire were had something else in them too. I don't know. All right, moving on. I did some research this morning as I usually do ahead of the show. Hadn't heard anything about the Olympics lately, and I guess at this point, no news is good news because no word of a cancellation. But the top story today out of the Olympics, a 118-year-old woman will take part in the passing of the Olympic torch. She will go 100 meters with her family pushing her in her wheelchair. Well, she will then get up and walk the final few steps. She's got some new tennis shoes that she got for her birthday in January. This woman's name, Kane Tanaka, the world's oldest living person at 118. She's survived cancer twice, lived through 2 global pandemics, and in her free time loves fizzy drinks, and she plays math games daily. Listen, when I'm home, it's hard for me to get up and go eat once I'm sitting on my couch and I'm comfortable and I'm under my heated blanket and I have a dog on top of me. The fact that she is carrying the Olympic torch and is up and at 'em at 118 years old, that blows my mind. And to be living that long, in Rio, 106-year-old gentleman lit the torch. He was the most recent oldest person to participate. 118 years old. I don't even think I'll get near that number. Chris, is this the craziest? I mean, we often see celebrities participate in this, but how awesome is this story?
I love it. It is awesome. Now, my first thought is I hope the Olympics are in August or late July.
It's August. She's going to do this in May.
Okay. I'm hoping she makes it to May. And
Right.
I mean, she made it 118 years. She'll probably make it 2 more months. But no, I love it. And, if somebody lives that long and they're active, and you mentioned she does math exercises for her brain. People should be celebrated. And if you make it to 118 and you're conscious, you should be celebrated. I love it. I look forward to this. Gives me something else to look for. So 2 things. Now, 1, I'm going to pull against Creighton in the tournament, and 2, in the Olympic event here ceremony, I'll pull for this 118-year-old woman.
I was reading some stories about her, and there were some quotes from her grandson who is in his 60s. So I'm really curious what her family tree looks like.
Yeah.
Because, you great grandkids, maybe?
I'll have what she's having.
I don't know. And this will be her 49th Olympics that she's lived through, if you count both winter and summer. I just think that's absolutely incredible. Moving on to some entertainment news, because it is Friday. Yes. We love us some entertainment. Woo! Also, a little bit of sad news in that the Alamo Drafthouse, an Austin original, and a now all across the U.S. There are a couple in San Antonio, I do believe.
Yes.
Has filed for bankruptcy. Unfortunately, they've had to close 3 locations, one of which the iconic 6th Street location here in Austin, known as the Ritz. Movies, for me, that's been one of the big perks with the many that come with this job, that I'm done so early in the day that I can go to a movie theater and enjoy a movie with very few people. I don't have to, on a Friday night, a new release, have to worry about will there or won't be seats. But it's something that once movie theaters do open back up, a lot is probably going to change. A lot should change. I hope the movie-going experience doesn't die, though. I mean, at this point, I've run out of things to watch. My attention span has withered away. I can't get myself to sit at home and watch a movie because I am on my phone. I'm going to pause it because I hear noise. I want to get up. I want to do this. I want to do that. I can't do it anymore. I really want to get back to movie theaters. It's saddening to me that the Draft House is going through this because it seems like we're reaching the other side to where things are going to get to open back up. I think movie theaters in New York are starting to open back up. And it's like they just fell short to where they're now having to go through this. Chris, you and I talk about music a lot, but we haven't really talked about movies. Are you a movie goer, or would you rather be at home on the couch in the comfort of your own home?
I love the movie going experience. There's something very special about it, but I often remark when I'm watching something on Netflix, it's so nice to like, oh, okay, I got to go to the bathroom now. Let me hit pause and or I need to go to the fridge and get another beer. Let me it's nice to just have to be a master of space and time and be able, or you hear a line of dialogue and you go, whoa, what did she say? And then you back it up. So I like both, but I'm really a fan of watching movies at home.
To me, the movie theater, it's almost like going to a sporting event. I could watch it at home, but there's just something about being there. The sound, the darkness, the presentation itself.
Yeah.
And there are some movies like a good comedy. I love comedy movies. Who doesn't ever want to laugh? Those I can save. If I don't get to them, I don't get to them. I have a movie pass, so I've already paid for all my movies.
You're hardcore.
I just go as much as I want. But the bigger movies, the bigger releases, obviously they keep pushing the James Bond release back, and that one surely is one that I'll want to hit the theaters for. So hopefully Alamo Drafthouse won't have to close any more locations. More theaters will open back up. And but we will need to change some things, right? I mean, the buckets of popcorn, the dirt, they're pretty dirty, right? How are they cleaning those things after each use?
Yeah.
The bathrooms themselves, you mentioned going out home, watching a movie at home, you have your own bathroom. That is a huge plus for me.
Mm-hmm. See, and you mentioned the Alamo Drafthouse, Shannon. There was a time when we would go to movie theaters and there was no alcohol. There was no beer. Right. There was no wine. There were no margaritas. When they started, when Alamo Drafthouse started, it's like, whoa, I can go to a movie and have an adult beverage. Mm-hmm. I'm a big fan of that. That's a cool thing. Yeah.
Doesn't help my case for trying not to go to the bathroom during a movie, though.
True.
That never.
When I guzzle like 6 beers during a movie,
that never goes well.
It's an issue.
And I believe it's Louisa who has been reminding us each day. You've got that JJ Watt cardboard cutout behind you.
Yes.
She believes he's no longer a Texan anymore, so he should not be represented. He posted on his social media yesterday a picture of him having an ice bath in a frozen pond. He and his brothers both used it as a social media photo opportunity. They actually dug out a square that they could fit in individually, followed by a trip to the sauna. Again, the Watt brothers they're just living their best lives, and we're just all watching. But that's a little extra, right?
Well, and let me ask you, because I hear there are great health benefits by doing an ice bath. Mm-hmm. I can't handle the weather when it's colder than 60 degrees. I can't do a freaking ice bath. What about you?
Voluntarily? Absolutely not. I mean, when I was playing sports, you'd ice a hamstring or something, but that's just a bag of ice. And even that would sting after a while, where I'm like, I got to take this off of myself here. No, thank you.
No.
So for them to jump in a frozen over pond, too much. You're doing too much.
Little Billy Joel here as we go out for a few moments. Sports update at the top of the hour. James Allen, our good friend from the Pro Football Hall of Fame, would he do the deal we talked about yesterday? Straight up, Dak for Deshaun. And he's going to talk a little bit about the big August festivities at the Pro Football Hall of Fame are going to be maybe the biggest ever. We'll talk all things football with our good friend James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame next. Don't go anywhere. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. He's Jeremy Fouts, the boy wonder. It's the Chris Duel Show. Woo!
Lisa, I've met Baker. He's actually a really good dude. He does play up the OU Texas thing quite a bit, but I was at his camp for the kiddies, and he's really great with them, and he does a lot for the Lake Travis area. So I'm not gonna knock him. And you have to admit, Colin is hard on that guy.
Probably more than any other player. I like Colin. I'm a fan, but he goes after Baker quite a bit.
It's almost like, oh, there's no news. Well, how can we attack Baker today?
Let's see. I will be back in a few. I'm going to grab some water. I want more coffee. I am just caffeined up. Pablo Perez, hashtag make the All-Star game great again. Hate this current format. Wow, we were just talking earlier, Pablo, how we kind of like the current format. So it was kind of East versus West, it was kind of getting a little tired.
And I like that they're doing it all at one time.
Yeah.
I just wish the middle of the game wasn't the dunk contest because I feel like they're going to rush it.
True. Yeah.
Even though it did go on way too long last year.
Wow. Roger Lopez, I just saw this, wrote, "No lie, my wife and I saw a light fall from the sky late Wednesday night here in town. Green light falling from the sky. I wonder if Roger's in Austin." Yeah, I just saw your email, Shannon. I totally forgot about Tanner. Sorry about that. Let me find his number. There it is. Okay. Make sure I got that right. I can't hear you. Okay. Okay, cool. Apparently the Aggie fight song is requested by James Allen.
Wow.
Here we go.
Wow.
And time 3. At
This is the Chris Duel Show. Now, Chris Duel.
Friday, February 5th, 2021. The weekend has arrived, a big sports weekend, and the countdown to the deadline for the Cowboys to sign Dak Prescott or apply the franchise tag now down to 4 days. That deadline, March 9th. And it is our poll question this morning. Uh-oh. Shannon, what is that music I hear? Wow. The Aggie fight song. That must mean there is an Aggie in our midst.
I will say when the band performs this and they do their whole marching routine with their crisscrossing and they come out the other side looking the same the way they started, I do enjoy that. I do miss seeing that.
See?
At the Texas A&M game.
Very big of you to say something positive about the Aggie band and the Aggie fight song. Here he is, our good friend from the Pro Football Hall of Fame, an Aggie, a proud Texas Aggie, but a man who has connections to Austin and the Texas Longhorns, the lovely and talented James Allen. James, how are you this morning?
Good morning. And Giggle Maggies are also hook 'em horns to all my brothers out there in Austin.
See, you can. What's wrong with saying, but you can, you're an Aggie, you say gig 'em Aggies and hook 'em horns. Shannon, why can't you be more giving to Aggie Nation?
He double dipped. He went to both. I did not go to that other school.
So did you
farm
ever get
school.
James at A&M? Did you ever get crap for your connections to Austin and UT?
No, it was just it's a great rivalry for the fun, but at the end of the day, those are fellow Texans and fellow football players. So I think it's more for the fans and the culture, which everyone embraces. But at the end of the day, we always root for each other, especially for Texas teams.
And they're
Amen.
both great education facility. I mean, either one's a great degree.
This is true. Now, you're big time. I mean, you are a big time guy, but you also know big time people like Red McCombs. He's a friend of yours. And I've said this before, when the Texas A&M versus Texas annual football game went away, Red was very outspoken. He said that game doesn't belong to Texas. That game doesn't belong to Texas A&M. That game belongs to the people of the great state of Texas. Do you believe that any time in the near future that the powers that be at both universities will do the right thing and find a way to bring that football game back?
Without DeLossdon for a fact was the blocking once they made that decision, and he even joked until Johnny Manziel left, he wasn't going to do the game. As Lyle Larson, state rep, worked overtime with the Austin politicians and got State Farm to back it. Don wouldn't do it. However, at this point, and Red was, Red, read and saw what I saw, which what it's best for. And at the end of the day, the problem is with the SEC rules and everything else. Most people don't realize SEC makes more money than all the conferences combined in TV, and it's really an SEC thing at this point. So I don't think the SEC is going to allow a school to go off on a tangential thing like that. So no, I think it's over at this point.
See, that's weird to me that you say that, because the SEC, I figure, would get a huge payday to have their school, Texas A&M, play Texas in a game that everyone watched on Thanksgiving or the Friday after when they moved it then.
It makes sense, and I agree. Well, the SEC doesn't need any more money from an outside force where they have to split it with an outside conference. But you're right. No, from a purely financial standpoint, they just don't need it, and their culture is to keep everything that way, and that's just the way it is, and it's really an SEC thing. It has nothing. I mean, UT definitely killed that rivalry, the Longhorn Network and DeLosta, no question. And A&M did their part at the end, but the SEC at this point is keeping the Longhorns and Aggies indirectly involved from getting together, even just in a preseason game.
Well, and it's too bad because, for those of us who grew up and that game was just a part of tradition, it was a part of Thanksgiving weekend. It was just a part of being a Texan. I mean, as a kid in elementary school, or middle school, you had to choose sides. Are you a Longhorn or are you an Aggie? And it's just too bad. As we talk football with James Allen from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. James, somebody, one of our listeners yesterday posed a question, and I was surprised at where Shannon fell on this question. The question was, you've got Deshaun Watson of the Houston Texans, who is disgruntled and wants out, and reportedly says he'll never play for the Texans again. You've got Dak Prescott, who is at an impasse with the Dallas Cowboys over his contract. So somebody asked us right now, straight up, would you trade Dak Prescott for Deshaun Watson? And to me, I think Deshaun has a slightly better skill set. I think he's slightly more athletic than Dak Prescott. I think he throws the football a little better and a little more accurately than Dak Prescott. So I would say, yes, I would do that deal. Reluctantly and surprisingly to me, Shannon agreed and said she'd do that deal as well. As you look at both of the professional quarterbacks in the great state of Texas who start for the Cowboys and the Houston Texans, who do you give the edge to as the better quarterback, Deshaun Watson or Dak Prescott?
Without over pontification, the biggest issue is culture. The Texans' son knew the owner. I know exactly why everybody's leaving there, and much like I know exactly why Seahawks, and I have to be very careful. But culture is a big deal. I mean, Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback, not because of the best skill set, honestly. Peyton Manning was not fast. It's the culture. Tom Brady says hi to the Cowboys, and everybody, they treats everyone the same. It drives or flies to go meet with new receivers. Like I told you about the story, like Peyton Manning would drive 3 hours one way to go with the receiver who was in college to go getting throws, and drive back. And Tom Brady took no salary for most of his career because he wanted to win. The Cowboys have turned, as Jerry has admitted in the Hall of Fame speech, when he had the winningest, it could have been a dynasty among dynasties. He decided to get rid of Jimmy Johnson and change the culture. And his wife said, Jerry, you just have a history. When things are going great, you want to disrupt it because you want to be in the middle. And he said that in his speech, so I'm not talking out of school. I tell you that story to tell you this story. As an owner, you can't make that trade. If you're talking purely, I don't know the chemistry in the locker room, but if you bring in a new quarterback and a new chemistry with your linemen, I don't make that trade. Financially, you can't make that trade. Jerry has boxed himself in. With that franchise tag, he's even admitted publicly that he messed up totally on that thing. So if you're asking, just in a bubble, if I took two guys out and did athletic drills or everything else, yes, the edge goes to Deshaun Watson, a small edge. But if you're an owner right now, you can't make that trade because culturally they're good people. I know why Deshaun's leaving and everything else. So if you're asking from purely in a bubble, I understand the edge, but if you're asking as an owner and disrupting the culture, you can't make that trade.
James, we're hearing that there are talks going on amongst Dak's crew and the Cowboys, mostly Stephen Jones. But we're also hearing that Dak is requesting Patrick Mahomes-like money. Do you think he's really, really gunning for that, or if he's just using the oldest negotiation tactic in the book that you got to start higher so you end up somewhere where you're comfortable?
But I think you need to look back about 5,000 feet. It comes back to culture. And if you don't mind, can I go on a little tangent about
Yeah.
Okay, the Rooney family, now, Ambassador Rooney, who was on our board, 90-something years old, when Jerome Bettis got involved, the Steeler Nation was huge there, and they're yelling at the Rooney family, who are very quiet, never go on TV, and the old man, 90 years old, security, and I helped get him up there. He stayed in the stand for 2 hours. He was very tired, just sitting on the fans, no cameras, told everybody to go away. If you remember when Antonio Brown was leaving and throwing a big fit and saying all these bad things, Mr. Rooney met with me personally even after he had left. Because it's what the 49ers did, years in the 80s. Everybody wanted to play for them because the culture that new owner brought in. And so you have to think about culture first. And unfortunately, the Cowboys have turned into mercenary kind of people. We talked about this last segment. They have the best line in history, which they had with him and Smith. Great, smart move. That's Steve Jones. The problem is you had a running back kicking butt. You argue over a few $1 million. He goes to the Eagles. Of course, he doesn't do well. You bring Ezekiel Elliott. He asked for all this money. You don't give money to the linemen, everything else. The Cowboys have literally boxed themselves in. Their people are not playing for winning. I mean, don't give me those athletes. I don't give you 0-16. They will fight to the death. But the culture there is get your money. Whereas the Spurs back in the day, as an example, the 49ers back in the day, the Patriots, when Tom Brady was saying, hey, I don't want $40 million like Aaron Rodgers or Matty Brown or whatever. I don't want this huge thing. But you have to take that money, give it to my line, and distribute it out. It's just a culture thing. So it's really a culture issue at this point. And to answer that question, as Jerry Jones has been, again, we don't talk bad about Hall of Famers. That's their rule. I guess I actually can talk whatever I want, but to respect a Hall of Famer and Jerry Jones as an owner, Jerry has admitted he's boxed himself in. Dak is holding all the cards, and yes, Dak is asking for that kind of money because he's punishing Jerry for last year. It was 1 year. It was a 1-year deal. You don't need to have a contract for all those years. Everyone was telling Jerry, even his son, take the deal. And he didn't. And so Dak says, okay, we're just going to be like Ezekiel Elliott. You want to talk about money? Because what are you going to do? He's going to pay him, what, $37 million if you franchise him? 37.7?
Yeah.
Agent in history. And then if you do that, guess what his price is next year? Like 50-something million? So yes, to answer your question, Shan, absolutely. They've created a culture, just get your money, and that's going to get his money because he can't franchise him. He can't. He's boxed at $37 million. I mean, yeah, absolutely. And Dak's holding all the cards.
Going to be very fascinating to see what happens and how it plays out with Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. Do you think, we talk football with James Allen, James, do you think, I know a lot of Cowboy fans like me, frustrated that the Cowboys have not gone back to the Super Bowl since 1996, January of 1996 in Super Bowl 30. It's been 25 years now. So some Cowboy fans think, well, maybe whenever Jerry Jones rides off into the sunset and Stephen Jones becomes the owner of the Cowboys, maybe things will change a little. But if you're Stephen Jones, I mean, you're the son of Jerry. You've been a part of this organization, a big part of this organization. I kind of get the feeling that Stephen will probably run things the way Jerry did. What do you think? Do you think there might be a change to some extent whenever Jerry Jones steps aside?
Everyone said that for years as a justification of next year. I will tell you, Jerry Jones will be there until he dies. Number one.
Yeah.
Two, Stephen is different from Jerry. And again, Jerry admitted this in his Hall of Fame speech. He's been very open at it at the Hall of Fame. Jerry is always thinking these are business deals. I got to, whether I'm buying a building or buying this or doing a deal, I got to get the best deal without looking at the whole thing. And Stephen is not like that. Now, Stephen, to Stephen's negative, I mean, he's, when you inherit, the guys build up their fortune by doing that. But no, Steven is different than Jerry on negotiating everything else, and I definitely think Steven will be different. But Jerry Jones will be there until he is not giving up that control. And even when he said, "I will step down as general manager if we don't go to the playoffs," well, they didn't go. He did step down. He's not going anywhere. And unfortunately, Dan Snyder learned too late. You're not a general manager, and you've made nothing but bonehead decisions. You destroyed a dynasty. Even a lowly coach came in and just held the reins while Aikman then won a Super Bowl. But once that was gone, Jimmy Johnson, the whole thing, and he keeps admitting to this, and that's fine. That's his right. He owns the team. As long as the fans keep paying the money, he's going to keep doing it. But Jerry Jones is not going anywhere. So if you're a Cowboys fan, and I grew up as a Cowboys fan, and I am, a Cowboys fan, and when even my mom, who has I think I've told you, autographed football to her in her name from Roger Staubach, who sits up right underneath the Bible, and has for the first time ever turned off the TV. She goes, "This guy is just not going to change for the Cowboys." So, I thought that was the next sign for the apocalypse. I was looking at the Bible under the things, and I know she's listening right now, so she's probably laughing. So anyway, long story short, I'm sorry for the over pontification. Jerry's not going anywhere. He's not going to give control. And honestly, why would he? He has nothing else to do. He has all the money in the world. This is what he enjoys. But unfortunately, he treats everything like I'm going to get the better of it, and he always is losing. Same thing with the coach out at Seattle Seahawks with Marshawn Lynch, and now what he's doing with Russell Wilson. And same thing Pete Carroll did at USC. And unfortunately, the owner of the Seahawks kind of did a little bit of bridge. The co-founder of Microsoft, and his daughter, his sister is now in charge. It's just, and it's through the foundation. It's just, Russell Wilson is probably one of the best character guys in the NFL. He just won the Walter Payton Award. He doesn't complain, but if you're going to run the ball and do it my way or the highway, or I'm not going to give it to Marshall Lynch on the 1-inch line, and you can't tap it for 5 yards, even when they stack everybody in the thing, and you lose the Super Bowl. I mean, Pete Carroll is doing it his way. And, there's a look at the Buccaneers with Tom Brady. The guy's going, "You're going to do it my way. You're going to do it my way." And White goes, "You know what? This isn't working, so let's just do it your way." Right? So that's a long way to tell you the answer. If you're hoping for all that stuff, it's just not going to happen.
All right, I want to kind of bring it full circle here, James. You said Jerry will never leave until he dies. Something apparently he also will maybe stick with is that he just doesn't draft Texas Longhorns. Okay, the last one he got was Connor Williams, which was, I think, a shock to a lot of people. He hasn't really lived up to his draft pick there, especially last year with the beat up offensive line to begin with. We've got 6 players, including Joseph Osai, Sam Cosmi, Caden Stearns, Taquan Graham, Sam Ellinger, and Brennan Eagles, who have all been invited to this year's NFL Combine, which of course will take place here. Scouts and coaches will come to the university to watch them play. They'll get an opportunity to do interviews. But, I mean, any chance in your mind that Jerry could take one of these guys to help out the Cowboys this year? Maybe Sam Ellinger. Maybe because we've got this thing with Dak Prescott going on, he'll relinquish whatever grudge he has against Texas and their star players and take a Sam Ellinger.
I will tell you, I've thought of all angles. I've never thought of the Longhorn OU rivalry and Arkansas rivalry. I don't think knowing Jerry and hanging around with Jerry, that is not an anti-UT thing. That's just Jerry. To answer Sam Ellinger, when's the last time Jerry Jones drafted a top quarterback in the draft? Was it 2008? I mean, way back then. He doesn't do it. So he's just not going to do it. He doesn't do it. He's and interesting enough, the one quarterback that he wanted, and his son just put his foot down over and over again, was Johnny Manziel, and they even went public with that fight, which was kind of unusual. So it's not and he hated the Aggies just as much as he hated the Longhorns. So it has nothing to do with that old college rivalry. It's strictly Jerry Jones does not recruit quarterbacks. He thinks he can buy. He thought when he found Tony Romo is a gem in the coal mine, which is the only thing he's ever done as far as being ahead of the other owners. He's trying to find that and Dak really kind of came out of that thing. So if you look, you can look up your stats. He hasn't drafted a quarterback in the first couple rounds since 15, 12, 13. I mean, so I don't see Erlinger having a chance, and Dak's going to suck up all the money. I mean, they're going to have to go to DeMarcus Lawrence, and I know they're already talking to him to get him a reduction so they can start making room for even Dak's demands.
Well, and again, and you mentioned Tom Brady and the Patriots, and you even mentioned the Spurs, and famously, James, you know, David Robinson, Tim Duncan took a little less money so the team could build a championship team around them. Clearly, Tom Brady did that. A lot of people go, well, he's married to Giselle. Well, nonetheless, you know, that is a prescription to win. You take a little less so the team can put more players around you. And Stephen Jones, about a year ago, even kind of said this publicly, that, you know, if Dak would take a little less, that would give us more latitude. It would seem to me if Dak is going to hold firm on these demands, that's, if you're a Cowboys fan, and I am a Cowboys fan, then, you know, Super Bowl Sunday or the next Super Bowl is still going to be a long way away.
Yeah, I don't see them ever going to the Super Bowl as long as they continue this culture. Again, back now, you know, the guy's name from the went to the Eagles running back, was a stud running back, doing all these records. Jerry wants to win in every negotiation, and he's boxed himself up. I mean, even with Dak and the whole thing, you know, because what Ezekiel Elliott got, and he threw a big thing, and the linemen are. I mean, the culture is just not good over there. It's not. It's like who gets paid. And I'm telling you, when you walk in and you're the lineman. And remember when I told you about who's going to win the Super Bowl, and I even told you I was at the first Super Bowl, and I told you it came down a couple, only 2 plays, and the line for the 49ers was in his pants. And remember, I said the problem is that line. Remember, I said, you know, the line is going to be in Mahomes' face, and when you don't pay those guys up front, Ben Roethlisberger's been doing that to the Steelers. No one's ever talked about him. Even the Roonies, instead of playing all these games, they went and said, hey, Ben, I know you're tired, you're old, you're frustrated, come back. They signed him right away.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a big difference. Or you can try to be right. And unfortunately, the Ezekiel Elliott thing, and you blew off your lineman. Look, Emmett is not going to be Emmett without that line. Sorry. You've got to have those guys up front. You know, you want to talk to Vinny Testaverde about, you know, being on your back at the Buccaneers. Talk to, you know, all of the Cleveland Brown quarterbacks. I don't care if you're Peyton Manning, Brett Favre, or whoever you want to throw out there. If you have to release the ball in 1.8 seconds, you're not going to make it in the NFL. So the culture is get paid. So and Dak is holding all the cards. $37 million a year as a free agent.
Wow.
Getting in the game. So I'm sorry to kind of beat that horse, but it's a culture thing.
Yeah, well, we appreciate your perspective. He is James Allen with the Pro Football Hall of Fame. James, we're out of time in this segment, but next time we grab you, we want to talk about this summer at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, combining the 2 classes, and it's going to be so big, and you certainly have a perspective there that we'll definitely get into next time. James Allen, always fascinating. Love your football perspective. Love your Texas perspective. Absolutely.
Well, I want to say Coach Robinson at Churchill, who's a fan of yours. I didn't know I was at the track meet, and he coached my son who won first in shot put.
Woo!
And I also want to give a shout out to all the coaches out there in all the schools, but really to their wives and our spouses. If you're a female coach, his wife Kara, because you know they get no money and they work a jillion hours. And I want to give a shout out to my mom and dad, who are your biggest fans listening right now, and my buddy Omar. So thank you, Chris. Thanks, Shannon. And as we talked last night at the Spurs game, I hope to see you two at the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
We will be there, sir. We look forward to that.
Excited.
And we will talk all about the Pro Football Hall of Fame next time with you, James. And a shout out to your mom and to your dad. And I love what you say. It's so true. The spouses of coaches, man, that's dedication. That's love. That's devotion. Totally agree with that. James Allen, thanks for taking the time. Have a great weekend.
You too, guys. Bye-bye.
All right. Great guy. Great Texan. James Allen, one of only 2 Texans on the board of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. One dude is named Jerry Jones, the other James Allen. Final half hour coming up. We will scour the sports world, make sure there's not something out there you need to know about to get ready for the big weekend. Longhorns about to wrap up their regular season in men's college basketball, and we'll get into them as well. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. He is the boy wonder, Jeremy Fouts. We're with you till 9. Chris Duel Show. Oh! Warren Wheeler, welcome in.
So we got
Warren says Texas versus Texas A&M. It was like 75 wins for Texas, 35 losses. Yeah, it was lopsided over the years, but it was still.
it's the environment it creates.
Yeah, it was still a rivalry. And usually when it is lopsided, you go, well, that's not so much of a. But this was just special. And tradition and.
Zone got a tweet from Mike that says straight up BS. A&M controls their out of conference schedule just like everyone else. UF plays FSU. South Carolina plays Clemson. Aggies can play UT every year, but they won't because their butt hurt. I mean, I don't understand how Texas can schedule Alabama and Arkansas and Georgia.
Right.
But now has us booked through like 2030. So that the spot block isn't playing right now in the zone, so I'm just gonna manually hit it, but it won't be back until we're done. I don't know what's happening. Oh, now it's firing.
Okay.
That's weird.
So does that change how we do anything once we come back here?
No, we'll just go like normal. It actually just fired on its own, but I don't know why it.
Huh.
Because it's been playing the music.
Louisa says Tom Herman tried to resurrect that game, but A&M came up with scheduling issues.
Tom Herman didn't have any sway.
Yeah.
That until there's actually an availability, that's when a coach can say their 2 cents, but they don't get to push for them. We should probably mention here that there will be shows next week.
Okay.
Because I did see some people saying they weren't going to listen.
How dare they? Yeah, all right, we'll talk about that.
Did you know that girl?
The philosopher Bobby McFerrin. Don't worry. Be happy. All done. Kind of no instruments. This is all vocal.
Does this get you in the vacation mood?
Yeah. In fact, my vacation begins in 13 minutes. Speaking of vacation, even though I will be on vacation, Shannon Salty Sweeney, you will be holding down the fort here and rocking the airwaves, rocking the suburbs, rocking the free world all next week. That should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, you know, I had my time away from you. Now it's your time to get away from me.
Yeah, you got away from me as quickly as you possibly could. You and I kind of were on the air like one day, and you said, "I'm out. I'm going away for like 2 weeks."
It's too much. I need more time.
I have that effect on women.
That was okay. very much a toss up to the calendar year ending and coronavirus not allowing me to use my vacation days on an actual vacation over the summer when I typically use them.
So you will be on board. I know you'll be joined by our good friend Carl Schoening some days, Andy Everett some days, and a cavalcade of guests as well, and everything that's happening in the world of sports. And you will be here, and I won't, for the ultimate decision on Dak Prescott and what we were expecting to be the franchise tag. But I'm hoping Jerry Jones shocks us and just gets the deal done.
Oh, I'd love it.
On, please.
And it would happen at stroke of midnight.
Well, and this is true though, and over the years, Andy Everett has filled in for me quite a bit. When I go on vacation, big things happen in the world of sports. Stuff that I would love to be here to talk about, and it's like, boom, things blow up. And so expect a big week. And
now when you go on vacation, are you good at being on vacation? Because for me, it's hard sports is such a big part of my life in general. And, I like Twitter and Instagram and all those things outside of my life, but it also is very much attached to my work life. And so it's hard for me to not in some way be a little bit connected, even though I try to disconnect as much as possible.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if you do this, but on my phone, I've got alerts for like sports, for ESPN, for The Athletic, for certain reporters on Twitter who I know are like locked into the Cowboys or locked into the Spurs or locked into the Longhorns. So inevitably, if there's a story, boom, it shows up on my phone. So yeah, I try to be in vacation mode, but I always see what's going on, and I get excited if it's a big story.
First thing I do is I take my email off my phone immediately. If I was you, 8:53 today, everything would be off my phone.
See, I don't even know if I know how to do that.
Because even when you're on vacation, there's always the people that don't know, or they do know, but there's something so urgent that they need you to do right now. I'm like, okay, we're a company. We don't save the world. Okay. It'll be fine. It can wait till I get back. I've told you all 3 months ago I was going to be out of town.
Right.
It's not that urgent.
I did do the away message I just did that during the break. So starting at 9, if someone emails me at my work email, iHeartMedia, it says, I am out of the office until Monday, March 15th. So
see, I always want to leave something snarky or something that's on brand, but then I don't, because I just know one person will, like the president of the company will email me and it'll come back and be like, well, what is this? Hey, how about don't come back? How about that? How about a permanent vacation?
Speaking of permanent vacation, if Les Miles were still at LSU, and he's not, I mean, he's the latest guy to kind of get into some trouble.
Good.
Apparently, there are students, when Les Miles was at LSU, and apparently this goes way back, a 2013 internal investigation revealed that Les Miles, then the coach of LSU, with inappropriate behavior toward female students, he would contact them via Facebook, via text. He would meet with them off campus and apparently make advances upon them, kissing at least one of the students. That's you're the head coach of a Division I SEC football team, and God, I'm whether it's Greg McDermott or Les Miles, just stupid things you shouldn't do that so many people would kill to have the amazing jobs that you have, and then you go do something stupid like this.
It makes me so uncomfortable. He has a daughter, Smacker Miles, who was actually a swimmer here at the University of Texas, who is 2013, so 9 years ago, would have been of legal age at that point.
Yeah. But
still very much in the age range of these women that he apparently had inappropriate contact with, or whatever the situation was. That just makes my skin crawl. And Kansas now staying very quiet. I think they're kind of taking the route of we didn't know, which could be true, but at the same time, it's not a great look for them either. A football program who has, they're still struggling. They're still the Kansas we know and love, and kind of, can always assume a win unless, you're coached against Charlie Strong. But, he brings a lot of hype and a lot of enthusiasm and hope, and he's a great recruiter, and this is just not what they need right now.
Well, and it's interesting you say that, Shannon, because you mentioned Kansas, and typically if somebody behaves this way, it's kind of who they are. So you've got to wonder if he's still behaving this way, if there might be women at Kansas who go, you know what? this kind of happened recently with me as well.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see, because sometimes when there's a light, it's like Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York. It's like every few days another woman comes out and goes, yeah, he was kind of inappropriate with me too. Usually when the floodgates open, other women in these cases are encouraged to say, yeah, I've got a similar experience.
Right. And again, it's almost like the Creighton thing, right? Like you've done it once. Where else have you done it? And I don't want to go ahead and just call him a serial creep on this, but like you said, there's still that possibility. And we know him to kind of be a weird guy to begin with, right? I mean, he had the fake phone call with Rick Ross for their hype day in Kansas spring football, and he's a grass eater, and he's just kind of a weird dude that it almost doesn't seem too far off from the brand that he is, but that just again makes my skin crawl.
Yeah. One other thing that we didn't get to yet, but I find it interesting. There's a story out about when sheriff's deputies got to Tiger Woods' vehicle after the accident. First of all, he was unconscious when they found him, and we know that they had to use the jaws of life to extract him from that big SUV. But Tiger Woods reportedly on the scene when he regained consciousness told, they said, how did this accident happen? He said, I don't remember driving. I don't remember getting here. So he said it then, and then reportedly later in the hospital, he also said, I do not remember the accident. I do not remember driving. And what I think is kind of concerning there, Shannon, they said, no signs of impairment, no signs of alcohol or drug use. So that makes you wonder, he was unconscious. He did not have memory of it. You got to wonder about head injuries. You got to wonder how serious a head injury might have been as a result of that accident.
Yeah, especially, when he says right there on the spot, I don't remember, and then removed from it a couple of days, I still don't remember, and we're so big into concussions as a society right now. And again, you look at that vehicle, it was the front of the car that was smashed. The airbags clearly, we've all seen the car commercials where they test safety, and we see the skeleton body just, bounce, and it's all about the head movement. That car definitely saved his life, but he still clearly has some issues that need to be figured out. And then I think I also saw they're wanting the black box from the car. I don't know. I'm not big on that kind of technology. I don't know what that would tell them exactly.
Well, the biggest thing is, was he speaking? Like if the impact happened and he was going 70,
like
or
it
something.
Could have been. It really could have been avoided.
Yeah, but I thought I heard, and I'm just recalling articles I've read recently this week about it, and apparently it's a high-end car, not old cars. My Kia Optima does not have a black box that I'm aware of. It's not that high end of a car. Nice car. I enjoy it, but it doesn't have a black box. But I thought that I heard that the black box did not record that data, but we'll see. I can't be 100% on that, but that'll be fascinating to learn if they do get that information from him. So there is that. Do you have and I'll look for it if you don't, do you have the poll question of the day in front of you, Shannon?
I do, sir. How will the Dak Prescott situation play out with the Cowboys? 16% say contract before March 9th, 30% say franchise tag, then deal, and 53% saying franchise tag, no deal.
Wow. So
I don't know if we have
53% of Cowboy fans believe this may be it
or just
for Dak Prescott.
Cowboys fans who are over it and are taking the delusional eyeglasses off and saying, I just don't believe in Jerry.
No.
Which is fair.
Yeah.
But it's not what we want.
No. Hopefully Jerry shocks us. But again, and we talk about it a lot because it's a big story. It's the biggest Cowboys story out there. You took care of everybody else. You took care of Zeke. You took care of guys on the defensive side of the ball. The one guy,
and I know, like, we talk about Brady and Roethlisberger, who just signed again yesterday, and he did some movement with his money so they could afford other things.
Yeah.
But they've been paid before already.
True.
Dak has yet to get paid.
He's still, other than last year.
Right.
On the tag, but yeah.
I think he deserves this one.
Yeah, I
How
agree.
much? I don't know. But the longer we wait, I feel like the worse it gets.
Yeah, you threw all that money at Romo. It's time to throw that money at Dak, Jerry. I agree with that. Shannon Salty Sweeney, have a great week next week. I'm sure it will rock. If I get a chance from my secret undisclosed bunker location, I will tune in on the iHeartRadio app and enjoy the excitement.
Oh, well, that's very nice. I hope you enjoy your vacation. I hope you sleep in, though.
Thank you. I will try.
I hope you take advantage of that.
I tend to be an insomniac, so you never know. Jeremy Fouts, the boy wonder. Great job as always, sir.
Thanks, Chris.
You have a great weekend.
And you deserve it.
Thank you. You're too kind. Thank you very much. And James Allen, we love James Allen from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Love talking football with James. We thank him for joining us this morning. Coming up, Dan Patrick and the Danettes and a full day of outstanding sports programming. Keep it right here. Tune in all next week as Shannon Salty Sweeney will rock the airwaves and rock your world. I will be back a week from Monday. So have yourself a great weekend. Cowboys sign Dak and have a great sports weekend. We'll see y'all later. Take care.